I have here the landscape I will paint. So if you remember, if you downloaded this book, you have here this landscape just to get you started, just to to give you an example of landscape that you can paint with this technique. But if you don't like this one, you can pass through the other ones that are included in the book. I will start with that first one. I think it's easier to start with this one, and I also like this one, so for me it's okay to start with this one. I'm trying to place everything more or less easily here. Let me check 1 second your comments, if you have any question or anything. Okay, for now everything is good, as I can see. So let's go with this one. So here the important thing is to really take as a bigger shape the similar values. So what does this mean is, I don't know if you noticed, but here we have 3 different planes. Okay, we have the background plane, so the farther away, the plane that is farther away, and it's this one. These mountains, all these mountains, this shape, as you can see here, it's like a more delicate color, like less saturated, right? It's more pale color, right? So it indicates that this is in another plane different than this one. So it indicates depth. This means this is farther away. The color means this is farther away than this plane. Even this plane, if you can see here, this small part, I'm not sure if it can be seen in the camera. So this small part is even not in the same plane that this one, right? So we can really see the contrast between both. And now really what we need to do is to use a huge brush to simplify all these complex things. You see here there are a lot of trees, there are a lot of little things, etc. Now, for now we will use the big brush and we will paint the really essential big shapes we see. For example, for me, this is all one big shape. This is another big shape, along with this if we want. This is the 3rd shape, the 4th shape, the trees here, and the 5th shape here. So just let's do that for now. I'm more comfortable if I use the masking tape to make a small rectangle here, so that's what I'm going to do. If you don't have masking tape, that's okay. Oops, that's okay. I'm just saying that we need masking tape, or that I need, or I'm more comfortable because I can go over the masking tape with without like messing up the whole page. So sometimes I do some brush strokes that are more free, let's say, and that go outside the borders. So that's why I like to put this masking tape later, so the edges are clean. Also, I want to mention that if you have a smaller sketchbook, or you have a brush that is not super big for this exercise, for example, if you only have a brush number 8, it's the one I have here, and you are painting in an A5 sketchbook, I recommend you to really divide this paper in 4, okay? So do 4 small studies of the landscape. Why? Because this brush is not big enough for this exercise, for this paper. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel uncomfortable to use a number 8 brush for this paper. it really needs to feel a bit uncomfortable, and it really needs to feel like you are doing something different, let's say. So if you want, you can quickly sketch the mountains, the 4 planes we said there are. I'm trying to find my pencil. Yes, here. Oh my god, this is more difficult than I thought. Okay, so I have my pen here, my pencil, sorry, and I will just draw more or less, really, like this first plane here, then another one there, just a quick sketch. It doesn't need to be really perfect or anything. It's just for us to have an overview of the lines we need to respect with the big brush. So for me that's enough. I will now take my flat brush and I will start with the sky. Why? Because it's easy to start with the sky always. I'm taking my cobalt blue. I'm sorry that you cannot see that. I'm trying to put this here and maybe this around here. Okay. So I'm taking here some cobalt blue and let's make a mess. So no worries at all about what is the outcome of this painting. So I see this sky is quite blue, but really pale. The blue of the sky, it will not be a problem, I think. And that's why I wanted to put the masking tape. You see I'm going over it with this big brush. So by the way, I forgot to mention that I'm using watercolors today, but I really want to use gouache in some of the exercises. So I may repeat the live stream with gouache, or I don't know, or only some of the exercises. Maybe I will make them with gouache. Now I'm doing the part that is closer to us, so I don't touch that border that is still wet. I'm mixing my green. I'm trying to add it a bit of yellow ochre. So this is one plane, as we saw, one of the planes there. It's true that it's not so easy to get the colors and mix with such a big brush. That is one part that I need to mention now, because it's not as comfortable as to mix with other colors. So more or less this, as you can see, this part is a bit more yellowy green, but this part and this part are really similar, so I'm creating a light color still. And here it doesn't matter what I do, because this is watercolors, and later I'll be able to paint over it with a darker color for the trees, for example. So this is a kind like of like a mid-tone. Indeed, I can paint everything here if I want, and we will do the separation later. Okay, So for now, quite easy for now. These big shapes are not so difficult, but let me know, how are you doing? I'm trying to add a bit more of blue for my next layer. My next layer is this one. Yeah, I'm not waiting anymore for the color to dry, because later I will add there some trees, etc. So yeah, I will be covering that part. We can maybe touch that part. Also, I need to say I don't love this paper, but I already knew when I took this sketchbook, so that's okay. I don't love this paper. So for me, I'm preparing here a kind of purpley. Yeah, it's a kind of purpley mix for the mountains there. Now, it's true that here I told you to pick everything as it was the same color, because it's more or less the same value, but it's true that you can leave, if you want, some places like this place and this place a bit lighter, right? These two places small here, for example. If you want, you can leave those a bit more a bit lighter, I mean. As we said here, now it's time for us to make the big shapes and to paint lighter in this part, okay? Of course, I'm not painting the snow, because at the end we want to really think these are the same mountains. So what I mean is that we are trying to make them similar, at least. So for example, if I see some paths that go down, or if I see some parts that are not really this color, then I will try to leave them as they are. Okay, that's good, that's good. Now, what we can do now is maybe go to these trees here. Okay, we're just practicing simplification here. No pressure for the end result or anything. I'm adding here a bit more contrasting green. I really like this green, but I want a bit more pop of color. As you can see, this paper is buckling, and I don't like this paper very much. It's Fabriano paper. It's cheaper, I mean, but I don't love it. Anyway, I think it's a good paper to practice. It's 100% cotton, and yeah, it's good enough, I would say. Now, I see that the whole green part is missing a bit of yellow and orange for me, for my taste. So for sure your taste may be different. So feel free to add more green, more yellowy part to your mountain and trees. Okay, so the problem now is that we have almost all the parts wet. Well, this part maybe, yeah, this part is already a bit dry. So now what we can do is really to start adding the small details of this mountain. So for example here, now I will add a bit of this color, a bit of this color, a bit of this color. Okay, I want to add a little bit of that color because it's a bit lighter, if you see, than the other one. So I want to do that, and we can also start working on those smaller things. Painting with a huge brush doesn't mean that you don't pay attention to the details. It's that you don't get caught up in the details. So it means that you can still detail, but you don't need to do every single thing, right? And with this super big brush, you are not able to do everything in detail, so that's okay. So I will prepare a bit of yellow ochre here. I don't know if I want yellow ochre because it's more like a tan color. I don't know which color to choose now. I'm thinking maybe a light orange tone, maybe this with this. Yes, maybe, yeah, I like this one. I'm using yellow ochre with a bit of Grenadian rose, Grenadian red. Now I'm adding a bit of cobalt blue, and it's a very light mix. Oops, I realized I'm mistaking this mountain by this one. So that's okay. Now for me this mountain will be this one and we only have two there with snow, so that's fine. I'm even seeing that this color is good for giving a layer of darkness to that blue. So I'm adding it. You don't need to do it, but I'm doing it. And next to that, I maybe take a bit more of green. I will take some green. I mean, the power strength, like the strength of the pirate red color is amazing. It's crazy. I'm adding that bit of green that I see, but this is a very diluted green, okay? It's a very, very, very diluted and also very it's also very not vibrant, how moody, sorry, yeah, moody colors. I'm adding a bit of that green because I see that this part is a bit green as well, and the other parts also have some rock that is showing through the snow. So I'm doing that part much more muted and dark. Okay, let me check your comments. Everything is fine. I see everything is fine. So no questions for now. Good. Have you listened to that? Okay, now I want to let this dry a bit. It's a bit too wet. I want to let it dry just a little bit because I want to do this part now with the trees. Okay, now it's time for us to separate. Also, I see that we didn't do this trail, this like orangey trail, but we can think of adding it now a bit later. I'm going to mix a darker green for this. Why? Because you see there is quite some contrast between this green and this green, so we can make a similar contrast for the trees there. And there is a trick for painting with greens. This trick is to really mix it with red, with any kind of red or pink, to tone them down and to make them more realistic, let's say, so to make them look more real life greens. And yeah, I will just start going with it, no worries at all. I know that the paper is a bit wet still, but that would be nice because I will see it expand a little bit, so I will try to paint a bit less, a bit smaller, knowing that it will expand a bit. Also, I'm using the same color for the whole tree thing. Still using my big brush, as you can see. I will join these two trees, even if this foreground tree is not belonging to that part. We will check how to handle that later. It's true that the paper is doing whatever it wants. Honestly, I'm trying to really manage, but no, it's the paper who manages, so that's okay. Let's start doing this part of this mountain where we see quite some trees. I recommend you to leave a bit of part there where we forgot to put the orange trail kind of thing. You see that I'm doing a lot of small, let's say, small brush strokes like this, tick, tick, tick. But really what I'm trying to do with that is the shape of the higher part. But at the end, you can go with it like this, and that's all. Yeah, I want to also add some trees that are there in that small part. Yeah, some things here and there. Right now they don't look like much, but we will see how we fix that later. I also see some things here, the first plane, etc. And what I will do right now is still with the big brush. We are saying that we said that we are going to keep with this brush until the end, so that's what we are doing today. So I'm creating a kind of orange color, but more burnt sienna for that tree, for that small part, because I think it will give a very good pop of color. And now with really the tip of my brush, I will try to make this as small as possible. So I will do like a kind of part, yellow part there first, and then I will try to make like a kind of trail. Okay, I see that we have here also some orangey parts. I did it a bit more curved than it is, but it's okay. We just need to see the high shape, the bigger shapes, etc. Now what I'm doing is I'm creating again a green, but it will be the same green that we created before for the trees, but darker, in order to give it a bit more dimension, because right now it's quite flat. So I don't know where this painting is going, honestly, but we don't care to. So we're just testing how to simplify landscapes with this big brush. So right now we'll add more trees there. You see? I'm just doing a smaller tap. And that's interesting because, yeah, the closer trees are also more dark. So here, if you see, what I'm doing is that I'm trying to give more dimension there as well. Okay, so it's not a masterpiece, but I think we're starting to get more or less what we see here, like taking into account that we have done really big brush strokes, etc. I think that we are getting more or less the vibe of this. What do you think? How are you doing? Let me check if you said something in the comments. Yeah. Nope. Okay. Yeah, so so I have my Twitch up. I think I can see there. Lisa says, I'm painting a bit more wet, so I'm slower than you. That's okay, Lisa. I'm happy that you're doing that as well. Yeah, I didn't paint wet on this one. I really wanted to go for it directly, but I think it's a great idea. Also, I think this kind of painting. Sorry, I'm adding a bit of yellow, yeah, to the trees, especially to the bushes that are here in the first plane. I think that this style of painting, of using a huge brush, it's working better for gouache, for acrylics, etc. Because in watercolors, it's true that you don't really, I mean, in acrylics and the gouache, if you paint something bigger than it is, then it's easier for you to make it smaller, and it's easy for you to really do it again, right? And to cover it with another layer of paint. But for watercolors, it's a bit more difficult to do. But for me, this is a nice experiment to do. And I never painted this with this big brush before here. I mean, I painted with the big round one, but not with the flat one. That's also interesting to see. Now that I have this crazy part here on this side, I will go to the mountain a bit more because I want to add more details there, even if it's in the background. I want to add more details, and for that I'm going to create again a kind of purple. It's true that with a bigger brush I find it difficult to control like the amount of water that I'm putting each time, and that can be a problem, and that is partly why I think this paper is not holding up very well. I think it is because I'm putting much more water than I should, or than the paper expects. So yeah, that's what's happening, I think. And now for the part here, I will do just one thing just to see if this is the color I want. Yeah, okay. So here I will start putting here and there things. I'm starting to put here and there the details I see there. It's true that we should not put a lot of detail there because we are in the background, and the background should not make us super distracted from the foreground. But I don't know, I found that part was really too light. And that it needed a bit more of color and a bit more of detail. This part is really all trees, so I don't see why I'm not more like that. Okay, and now with this brush again, I will start doing the how it's called, the shadows I see in the snow. Okay, so the shadows, the small parts, the little rocks that are exposed, etc. The same here in this part, because this part, if you remember, I made it really like exposed rock. Okay, so for now, for the background, I'm happy with it. I need it to really dry. I'm happy with this experiment. I'm not very happy with the paper. I'm really suffering. I will show you why. It's so combed, like it's not holding up really. But yeah, for me, this exercise was about getting the feeling of the painting, getting the feeling of the mountain, etc. And even if I would work more on the first level, on the foreground, on the first plane, I think we more or less got an idea of what this exercise is about. Now, I think it's time for us to really switch to a smaller brush, okay? Because I really started to do these small things that it's okay, we don't need more detail on that, but for me on the foreground we need quite more detail, more texture especially. So for me it's time to pass to a really smaller brush, and then we finish it. So let's see. Yes, I'm mixing a green, but you know, each time I put one coat more of water, I'm getting really frustrated because of the paper. Every time I put more paint of water, I mean, it's not holding up. I see it suffering and not holding up, so I'm a bit frustrated with that. So I may leave it as it is, because I really, for example, I wanted to make these trees a bit darker, so or at least the lower part of the tree is darker, so this bush that is in the first plane, it's more, gets more attention, let's say. And I'm not sure if I'm managing it well, but it's a bit crazy there. So what I will do now is I will fix this part. I will try to lift up some pigment, yes, to bring again the light part of the first plane. This is a really messy painting, but yeah, we said we were going to do a mess today, so perfect. Mission accomplished. Honestly, we said we were going to make a mess today, and that's what we're doing. I'm happy with it. And yeah, the paper is not holding up anymore, so I will leave it there. Okay? If you want to add more details, feel free to do so. What I would do if I could add more things, maybe just with this, is just a little bit of things here and there, like to give the impression that in the middle field we have something else, right? In the middle field, I don't know, we have these patches of sand, for example, and here again we have another patch of sand. And yes, here next to the how it's called, the path, next to this orange track we have also some some smaller plants, etc. So yes, this is how it will look like now. I will not touch it more, and the overall shape for me, it's clear that it's there. The overall composition is there. It's not my favorite painting, no it's not, but it really helped me simplify it, especially this part, and I think for me it's a success. Yay, so happy.